This is ABC22 News at 11.
Votes are coming in across Vermont, New York, and New Hampshire.
Not an easy thing to do, being a Republican, sitting governor, and voting against your party's nominee.
The nation's most popular governor voting opposite his party again.
The truth is that the vast majority of the American people are coming together.
And a message of unity on stage in South Burlington. America decides tonight here on your local election headquarters. And thank you for being with us here on ABC22 Election Night 2024. I'm Lauren Maloney. Our team is across the Champlain Valley with Matt Holderman in South Burlington at the Vermont Democratic Party headquarters. Matt Loffer in Plattsburgh when it comes to a mayor's race that looks like has been decided on this Tuesday night. And finally, Jordan Barber in Central Vermont at Governor Phil Scott's watch party in Montpelier. Mike Hoey is also with us in studio at our election center. We said goodbye to the Weather Center for one night only. And Mike is there tonight. He will break down some races in a few minutes, also some big ballot issues, and there have been some that have been decided on tonight in the region. But with polls now closed across the East Coast, here is a look at some of the early returns. The first state projected for Vice President Kamala Harris tonight was Vermont. During the Republican primaries, though, Vermont was the only state former President Donald Trump lost. That went to Nikki Haley, you'll recall, in March. Here are the numbers. The numbers still coming in, but actually look at the upper right, 90% of the precincts in. Kamala Harris winning with 64% of the vote in Vermont. In the State House, Governor Phil Scott has made history, becoming the third governor to be elected to 5 terms in office. Scott now projected to win over Democratic challenger Esther Charleston, a former Middlebury Select Board member and political newcomer. Now, for some background, Richard Snelling served in unconsecutive terms from 1977 until his death in 1991. Howard Dean succeeded him and won the next 5 elections. There is your history when it comes to Vermont's corner office, 73% in Phil Scott's favor this election night. Now, when it comes to the race, everyone in the state of Vermont is still watching Lieutenant Governor. This between incumbent Democrat David Zuckerman and Democrat turned Republican John Rogers. Here we are right now. John Rogers ahead by more than 3,000 votes. John Rogers took the lead, I want to say, about a half hour ago, according to the Associated Press. So this is a race that is very, very being closely watched tonight, and we will keep watching it. We will have more in just a minute or two on that. But during his acceptance speech tonight, Governor Phil Scott also acknowledged the presidential election, and this was before we got some of the more returns that we do have now when it comes to some of the states that have been called. But ABC22's Jordan Barber is live in Montpelier with more on what Phil Scott had to say after voting a second time for a Democrat.
Yeah, it's been about an hour and a half since Phil Scott gave his acceptance speech, and one of the things he asked for was for voters to come together in Vermont and in the nation for more of a bipartisan situation. Just earlier this evening, he cast his vote for Kamala Harris, which he said was challenging to do, but right for the country.
I've always believed most Vermonters and most Americans are somewhere in the political middle. Sometimes our voices are just drowned out by the extremes of both parties. It's up to us to change that.
The governor said the flipping of quite a few House seats to red tonight was evidence to support that change. He also said while the presidential election may still go on for a few days, there are still some things to celebrate. Reporting from Montpelier, Jordan Barber, ABC22 News.
Jordan, live in Montpelier tonight. Let's pick up some of the other races in Vermont that were towards the top of your ballot. Bernie Sanders, Vermont's incumbent independent senator, projected to keep his Senate seat, getting a 4th seat, 63% to Gerald Malloy's 32%. Malloy losing his now second consecutive Senate race that he attempted in the state of Vermont. He was unsuccessful against Senator Peter Welch 2 years ago. When it comes to Bernie Sanders, now the senior senator, I think he joked when he told me once he's the oldest senator in the United States to be a junior senator for such a long time, given Patrick Leahy's track record. Sanders is 83 years old. 2 years ago, became chair of the Help Committee. That was a sought-after title, as he is in a position to hold big pharma CEOs accountable. He has done so in the past several months. Sanders long supporting lowering prescription drugs, and he was just with President Joe Biden in New Hampshire a couple of weeks ago to tout that part of the president's legacy. Congresswoman Becca Balint winning re-election for her second term in Congress. Again, these are unofficial, but the Associated Press is giving this one to Becca Balint, the incumbent. She will get another term. All 435 seats in the United States House of Representatives up for grabs on this election night. She has 63% of the votes to Mark Kirster's 30%, and again about 90% in the precincts right now. So we are closing out some of these races when it comes to Vermont. Polls close in the Empire State at 9. North Country voters had a Senate race in the 21st House District on the ballot in the Lake City. It was the mayor's race that was open. Christopher Rosenquist not running again. And it appears the Clinton County Board of Elections giving this to Wendell Hughes tonight, 54%, to former Mayor Don Kasperzak's 46% tonight. Again, the projection by the Clinton County Board of Elections. ABC22's Matt Laufer is at Bobby's Lounge in the Lake City, where Democrats were camping out earlier tonight, and Matt was also paying attention to the mayor's race. Matt, we did hear from Michael Cashman earlier as well, and if you have that statement, I'm going to let you take that. If not, I will.
I do not, Lauren. I do not have that statement.
That's okay. Go ahead. Tell me about what's happening right now at headquarters.
I can do that. The results are in. The current unofficial count says Wendell Hughes will be our next mayor here in Plattsburgh. It's been an exciting night here at the Democratic headquarters, Bobby's Lounge on South Catherine Street. Once the polls closed, everybody was huddled around, glued to their cell phones, watching the results come in. Just as we went on TV at 10 o'clock, they announced Hughes as the winner. You could hear the screaming and cheering. We were out on the back deck. They were all inside screaming and cheering. It was quite exciting. And then shortly after that, we caught up with Wendell Hughes, and I think we have that interview now.
I mean, it's still surreal. I mean, it's still sinking in that, you know, I'm going to be the next mayor of the city of Plattsburgh. It's just surreal. So, and again, I just have to thank everybody in the city of Plattsburgh. I mean, I just love the city, and I'm blessed.
And your first big act once you get into office, what are you thinking?
Getting the police chief. I mean, it's huge. I mean, there's a lot of folks in the city of Plattsburgh that want to see, you know, whether it's speeding. I mean, we've had murders, there's drugs, there's different things, and they want to feel safe in our city. And we got to get that community-oriented police chief. Oh, my 3 C's, my communication, collaboration, compromise. Compromise has been dead for a long time, and I think we need to bring it back. Some of the best decisions in history has been made by a compromise, and I think people are so unwilling to compromise these days. Everybody wants it. I think the best decisions actually come out of compromises.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. I mean, I just want to go hug my wife.
So there you have it. Wendell Hughes, the next mayor of the city of Plattsburgh. We are live in Plattsburgh tonight, and I am exhausted, so I'm going to wrap it up and go home. Matt Laufer, ABC 22 News.
I do have part of that statement from Plattsburgh Town Supervisor Michael Cashman. In part, he writes, as we embark on this new chapter, I'm excited to work closely with Mayor-elect Hughes to foster unity and collaboration between the city and town, benefiting the greater Plattsburgh region. That is just part of a statement tonight from Plattsburgh Town Supervisor Michael Cashman on Wendell Hughes' expected win. Let's get to the presidential results. When it comes to the Empire State. This one went very quickly in favor of the Democrats just after polls closed at 9 o'clock in New York. 57% Kamala Harris to Donald Trump's 43%. About 80% of the precincts in, with the Associated Press calling this one in Kamala Harris's favor. In House District 21, we have GOP incumbent Elise Stefanik versus Democratic challenger Paula Collins. And at this hour, the Associated Press is calling this race for Elise Stefanik. Current House GOP conference chair Stefanik with 63% of the vote to Paula Collins, 37% of the vote. Back to Vermont, ABC 22's Matt Holderman joins us now live from Democratic Party headquarters in South Burlington. And I understand he is joined by Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman to talk more about what has been a very, very closely watched race at this hour in the state.
Stage manager, you can be a campaign manager.
Yes, Lauren, that's right. I am joined right now by Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman. I believe the most recent result we heard, Lieutenant Governor, was the gap is about 3,000 votes. I do believe that is in favor of your opponent at this hour. How are you feeling just about the race in general, about how close it is at the moment?
Well, it's incredibly close, and that's a reflection of the frustration of a lot of voters, particularly around property taxes and affordable housing. I didn't separate myself enough in the fact that as Lieutenant Governor, you don't actually pass those laws, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I've had a lot of support out there in the past. I think there's still some good-sized communities that might help me out. But, you know, Vermonters are saying they're frustrated with things like taxes, and I think it's really important, whether it's Democrats to shift or progressives to get louder on the need to do a more progressive taxation system where working Vermonters don't get saddled with these big hits, because that's what's going on out there. Working people are struggling.
Right, and just to clear things up, at this hour, are you accepting defeat, or do you think there is a chance this could still swing back your way?
No, it hasn't been called by the AP. I think they recognize that some of the votes out there are from towns that I do well in. So, you know, you don't concede defeat until you see the final numbers.
Right, absolutely. And you know, being a couple of those towns that you have some confidence in, do you think there is still hope for you and
yeah,
your campaign?
Absolutely. You know, if there wasn't hope, then the AP would have called it. You know, they're looking at the same numbers. They know the past, but it's a tight spot, and I'd rather be on the upside than the downside. There's no doubt about it. And certainly, if it becomes clear, I will call my opponent and let him know.
Sure. And should this stay on the side of John Rogers, you know, where do things go for you from here, if that is something you have thought about yet?
Well, you know, it's hard to figure that out at this point. I thankfully have a fantastic family. I've got a great farm, and we've got some lovely places to relax and catch a breath. You know, it's been a long run from the legislature in through the primary. You know, people have to remember I also had a primary. So where it goes from here is trying to get a little bit of rest, get my feet back under me, and contemplate what's next.
Absolutely. Well, Lieutenant Governor, I appreciate your time, and
Absolutely.
Best of luck the rest of the way through.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck, everyone.
All right, and with that, Lauren, we will send it back to you.
Appreciate it, Matt. For a look at some local races in the Green Mountain State, Mike Hoey joins us now from the Election Center. We have some smaller races that were further down the ballot to talk about, and also some ballot issues eventually.
We do indeed. I'll get to the ballot issues a little later in the newscast, sure, Lauren, but some results, if they end up being certified the way they look now, would mean that the Democrats and progressives would no longer have a supermajority in the Vermont State Senate. Well, the Chittenden County North District race featured incumbent Democrat Irene Renner looking for a second term. It appears Republican Chittenden-Franklin State Rep Chris Mattos has unseated her at this point by more than 10 points. And there are 2 state Senate seats in the Addison District with 4 candidates on the ballot, one of them being Democrat Christopher Bray. At the moment, he appears to be on the outside looking in with, thus far at least, Republican challenger Stephen Heffernan in position to unseat him. Now, in the Orange District, there is 1 seat, Democratic incumbent Mark McDonald seeking re-election. Still nearly 25% of precincts that have not reported in yet, but Republican challenger Larry Hart Sr. has a 10-point lead. And in the Grand Isle district, you may remember Senator Andy Julo was appointed in this district after the retirement earlier in the year of longtime Senator Dick Mazza. Republican challenger Patrick Brennan has unseated him. Again, if all 4 of these results hold, Republicans would break the Democratic progressive supermajority. Lauren?
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you. Let's check in on the numbers from New Hampshire tonight. When it comes to the race for New Hampshire governor, former Senator Kelly Ayotte projected to win over former Manchester Mayor Joyce Craig. This projection from the Associated Press coming in the past 45 minutes or so. Governor Chris Sununu has already congratulated Kelly Ayotte tonight. I understand Ayotte has already addressed her supporters as well. But here is the vote breakdown. And again, just 65% of the precincts in, but Kelly Ayotte favored 52% over 46%, given where the rest of the votes may lie in this state. In New Hampshire, House District 2, Democrat Maggie Goodlander versus Republican Lily Tang Williams. Right now, Goodlander leading Tang Williams 56% to 44%, and the numbers just changed as I spoke there. So Goodlander with a 26,000 vote lead right now. And this is a race that I do want to speak to Dr. Nathan Schrader, our political scientist, about in a few minutes. Closely watched in this race, you can see a bit of a gap here when it comes to Goodlander and her Republican opponent. Much more to come tonight on ABC 22. We are your local election headquarters, and we'll be right back after this. Queen City voters had 2 questions on the ballot this election day. Mike Hoey joining us again from the Election Center tonight when we talk about some of these important questions that were in front of voters in many communities across the state.
Certainly. We've got our eyes right now, though, on 3 matters that were in front of voters in Chittenden County, 2 of them in Burlington, one of those being a $20 million bond issue that Burlington Electric had asked for various energy efficiency related improvements, with the measure passing by about a 5-3 margin, with more than 11,000 voters in the Queen City voting yes. That was question 1. Question 2 in Burlington had to do with police oversight. The most recent attempt at a police oversight measure after several recent prior attempts had failed. This one, however, passing muster with Burlington voters by nearly a 4-to-1 margin, 79% in favor. A much tighter spread than this was seen in Colchester tonight with the $115 million school bond issue for every building in the Colchester School District. This measure passing by just 1 percentage point, fewer than 100 votes. But that $115 million school bond does get the all clear. Election coverage isn't all we have for you tonight, though. Here's Sky Tracker meteorologist Tegan Reeves with a look ahead to her forecast.
Looking live across the region right now, we're still seeing those clear skies, a few stars over Mount Mansfield, but as we head into your Wednesday, we're bringing back the clouds and some showers. All the details and a full look at that forecast up next.
Now, your Sky Tracker forecast.
Welcome back. We were able to clear out those clouds, see some sunshine for your Election Day Tuesday. Actually, a very comfortable day to get out to the polls. We saw those warm conditions as well, but that won't be lasting too much longer. As we head into your Wednesday, we are watching those clouds slowly increasing ahead of a cold front that will be sweeping through the region. That's also going to be bringing some scattered showers with it as we head into your Wednesday afternoon. For Thursday, it does look like we continue to hold on to that cloud cover for the morning hours, but we do start to clear out a little bit as we head into the afternoon, and we'll continue to see that nice mix of sun and clouds across the region for your Friday. But once again, as another system passes to the north of us, the chance for a few showers to be moving in to end the day. For right now, though, we are still seeing those clearer conditions overhead, a breezy south wind helping to usher in those warmer conditions. As we continue throughout tonight and into early Wednesday morning, though, we are seeing those clouds slowly building across the region with partly to mostly cloudy conditions by the time you're waking up for that Wednesday morning commute. For the most part, dry across the region, but starting to see a few of those raindrops working their way into the northern New York area. You will want to keep that rain gear on standby as you're heading out the door, though. Like I mentioned, seeing those breezy south winds, gusts in excess of 20 miles per hour, which means those temperatures are fairly mild for the overnight hours. We're looking at those lows only dipping into the 50s, 58 degrees for our low here in Burlington, down in Rutland 56, 53 in Keene, and over in Newport. Now, like I mentioned, we're really not seeing many issues weather-wise for the start of your Wednesday, just that extra cloud cover overhead, maybe a few raindrops working into northern New York. But as we continue into the afternoon hours, that cold front you can see right there starting to sweep through, bringing with it some spotty to scattered showers across the region. It is weakening as it moves through our area, so like I mentioned, that rain activity fairly spotty. A lot of folks still seeing dry skies. You'll just want to keep that rain gear handy. But as we continue into your Wednesday night, once those winds shift, we're seeing those winds out of the northwest. That will help to cool us off, and we'll see those showers slowly pushing out, really just dealing with that extra cloud cover to end your Wednesday. Your temperatures, though, still feeling warm. We'll reach those low 70s for a lot of folks across the region. 72 degrees for our high here in Burlington, 72 in Lebanon, and over in Rutland as well. So still feeling unseasonably warm for your Wednesday. Behind that cold front, by the time we make it to Thursday, we are seeing those more seasonable temperatures in the 50s. We are still dealing with some of those showers, but we clear everything out just in time for your weekend. We'll bring back the dry skies, some of that sunshine, and those more seasonable temperatures in the 40s and 50s. And as always, if you missed anything and you need your updated forecast, the place to go is going to be mychamplainvalley.com. Lauren, back to you.
Tegan, appreciate it. Much more election coverage on ABC 22 right after this. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Wild ride so far this evening.
Yeah. What do you think? Too much to overcome in some of these states, or what?
No, I mean, I think it comes down to the original Joe Biden, the states that failed Hillary and that Joe Biden won back, and she's not. I'm hearing a lot of total pessimism in text from Democrats, but it ain't over yet, and she still has some places that Biden won back that she can defend. But I'd rather be in Donald Trump's shoes right now than hers.
You're right.
At this point.
You're right. Yep. It does look much better for him. Okay. Okay. We'll see you in about a minute, Dr. Schrader.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
We are your local election headquarters. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Focusing in on the Granite State now, almost 24 hours after the first votes were cast in Dixville Notch. Let's start with the race for New Hampshire governor. Former Senator Kelly Ayotte projected to win over former Manchester Mayor Joyce Craig. This considered to be the closest contest for governor in the country. And Governor Chris Sununu has already congratulated Governor-elect Kelly Ayotte. The vote's still coming in tonight, but that is a look at the current spread, 52% to 46%. In House District 2, Democrat Maggie Goodlander versus Republican Lily Tang Williams, 55% to 45%. Maggie Goodlander comes with some backing from the White House, some Washington experience, of course, and there's been a lot of debate over residency in this race as well. And I do want to talk about this race now. We are joined by Dr. Nathan Schrader, political science professor at New England College, with us again. Dr. Schrader, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
When it comes to this race, let's talk about that WMUR debate last week. Lily Tang Williams, and I'll steal a headline here from The Hill, roasted Maggie Goodlander, telling her, "You are rich." There was a conversation back and forth about helping people when it comes to making the economy better. This seemed to be a back and forth that went viral, with a lot of conservative bloggers taking notice. Do you think that made a difference in this race tonight?
Well, so it may have made a difference, but maybe not in the way that we had talked about it. I actually think that Maggie Goodlander, in my view, I thought she's ahead by 10 points right now, and I've been following that race really closely. I thought she was going to win by more than 10 points. Now, she maybe still could emerge by more than 10 points, but I think that the Williams campaign was bolstered a bit by some of these conservative bloggers and online internet kind of conservative personalities, if you will, for lack of a better term. But many of them, I believe they don't vote in the state or in the district. So there's only so much they can do within a district level race, right? Short of them being able to personally vote and campaign in the district, which some of them can't because they're scattered all over the country. So but I do think that Lily Tong Williams, her profile has been raised, and we had her at a town hall meeting on our Henniker campus last night, the night before the election. And she said outright last night, win or lose, she's not going away, and we can expect her to run again. So we've certainly not seen the last of her. But let me say about Maggie Goodlander, and I've been around politicians and elected officials all my life, all my career. She is an impressive candidate, ran a flawless campaign. Her resume is stellar. Her public speaking skills exceed those of most candidates in a congressional race anywhere in the country. So I was not surprised to see her winning. I actually thought she might win by a little more.
Dr. Schrader, according to the Associated Press, the economy ranked as the top issue. But concerns over democracy drove many voters across the country to the polls. That New Hampshire poll from Emerson College 2 weeks ago, democracy, I believe, was also ranked in the top 3. What does that tell you?
It tells me, interestingly, that not every voter who says that democracy is their top concern has the same conception of what it is about democracy that they care about, right? Or that they value the most. So, for example, a Democrat could make the argument that they're the most concerned about democracy because of Donald Trump's constant threats and, that he's making towards democracy, and because of January 6th and whatnot. But then again, you could have a Republican voter or a MAGA-oriented voter saying that, yeah, they're also worried about democracy because of, hypothetically, we know it's not true, but they can say, well, the Democrats stole the last presidential election, so I'm concerned about saving democracy. So I think we need to be more careful moving forward in the polling, but also in our own conversations and discourse about what does it really mean to say that you're concerned about democracy? Is it a right-leaning, MAGA-leaning sort of concern about democracy, about a fake stolen election, or is it about kind of a mainstream concern about democracy, about the threats of authoritarianism and things along those lines? That tells me that it's very ambiguous in the way it comes up in the polling.
Interesting. Okay. Dr. Schrader, we are running out of time. I really appreciate your time on election night. Hopefully we'll talk soon after the presidential race is settled.
All right, I hope so, and thank you very much for having me, Lauren.
Thanks again for being here. Earlier tonight, both Vermont senators addressed the crowd at Higher Ground in South Burlington at the Democratic Watch Party. Sanders spoke shortly after being projected to win a 4th term in the chamber, which he has several years left in his first term. Let's take a listen. That was Peter Welch. Here we go.
Jane and I thought hard about whether or not we wanted another term, wanted to try for another term, but we felt we couldn't turn our backs on our country and our state at this terribly pivotal moment in American history.
Anyone in favor of a Kamala Harris, Tim Walz presidency? Well, I am too, and what an extraordinary campaign Kamala Harris has won. She is going to win. That's my prediction, and you can hold me to it.
So that said, let's check in on the current electoral college map from the Associated Press right now. In the Northeast, we've got a lot of blue, of course. Dark blue means these states have been called for the vice president. So, of course, Vermont and New York, as expected, Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington. She does have Colorado as well. When we talk about the lighter red or the pink numbers, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, these are leaning Republican right now. The Electoral College currently in Donald Trump's favor, 230 to 192. Again, 270 to win. Much more to come on ABC News when it comes to this race. MyChamplainValley.com locally, and we will see you back here tomorrow.